Welcome to the deep dive. We take the info you want to understand and we really get to the core of it.
That's the plan.
Today, it's personal security, self-defense, a really practical, kind of essential topic, actually.
Hmm.
You shared these excerpts from Peter Consterdine's book, Streetwise, and what jumped out at me was how real world it feels.
Absolutely. Consterdine, he's not just, another martial arts guy.
Right.
We're talking 8th Dan black belt in karate, like 40 years experience.
Mm.
Former international competitor, GB in England, and executive protection work too.
Wow, okay. So a pretty deep background.
Yeah, it's comprehensive. It's not just theory. It's about what actually works when things get messy, unpredictable.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive then is to pull out that actionable wisdom,
Right.
moving past the flashy movie stuff,
Right?
focusing on the basics, awareness, managing risk, what self-defense really looks like,
Yeah.
equipping you, the listener, with practical knowledge for navigating daily life more safely, not trying to make you an action hero overnight.
And Consterdine, he's very clear on that. Avoids those unrealistic pictures of violence.
Good.
His focus is much more on the psychology of it all. Managing your environment, basically.
Okay, let's get into it. The book kicks off with three core principles for personal security. First one, security measures must be commensurate with the threat.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds a bit, I don't know, formal. What does that mean for someone, day to day?
Well, it really just boils down to calibration, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Matching your response to the risk.
Okay.
Finding that sweet spot where you're not caught out by real danger, but you're also not like jumping at shadows all day.
Right, not paranoid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about walking down a busy, well-lit street during the day versus, say, walking alone late at night in a known rough area. Your precautions should be different.
Right.
It's proportional.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay, second principle. Risk is always there. He puts it bluntly. From conception to grave.
Yeah, it's a bit stark, isn't it?
A little bit, but
Yeah.
it underlines that security isn't just an occasional thought.
It's constant, a reality we all live with. But importantly, he's not saying it to scare you.
Okay.
It's more about fostering this baseline awareness,
Yeah.
acknowledging that potential so you're just better prepared to handle things if they, go sideways.
And the third cornerstone, constant awareness. Sounds simple, right? Just pay attention.
Uh-huh.
But he says this is actually the hardest one to do consistently. Why? Why is that so tough?
Because knowing the rules, knowing what you should do,
Well,
well, it's useless if you don't even see the threat coming, is it?
good point.
You could know the perfect self-defense move, but if you're buried in your phone, totally oblivious.
Yeah, you've lost already.
You've lost that critical window.
He calls it looking but not seeing. Like we're on mental autopilot. Routines,
Yeah.
stress, it all contributes. Can you paint a picture of that?
Yeah, think about your commute, your drive or walk to work.
Okay.
You probably do it without really registering every person, every car, every little detail. Your brain's super efficient at filtering stuff out.
Right, so you don't get overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that filtering, that's the catch. It can also filter out the subtle signs, the cues that something's not quite right, a potential threat. You're looking physically, but your brain isn't processing it for danger signals.
And he mentions transitions as being high-risk times, like getting out of the car into work or just stepping outside. Why then?
Because your focus splits. Right.
Yeah.
You're thinking about the meeting or fumbling for keys or checking your phone the second you step out.
Yeah, guilty.
That divided attention just makes you less aware of your immediate surroundings, makes you seem like an easier target.
So what are some simple risk reduction things he suggests? Stuff you could actually do during those transitions?
Simple stuff, really. Walk with someone else if you can. 2 people, generally less appealing target than 1.
Makes sense.
Make a real effort to be observant. Actively look around, scan, don't just glance. He even says things like carrying an umbrella or being with a kid or walking a dog. They can subtly make you seem less vulnerable.
Interesting. Like a slight deterrent.
Yeah, maybe less easy to approach unnoticed, or just changes the perception.
He gives some relatable examples, too, of being switched off. Leaving car windows slightly open, flashing a nice watch while you're distracted on the phone.
Exactly. They're almost like little invitations, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's about minimizing the bad guy's perceived reward and increasing their perceived risk or effort. Someone totally zoned out on their phone, much easier target than someone who looks alert, aware.
He includes this Daily Telegraph report of a really savage attack. to make the point that real violence isn't like the movies.
Yeah, it's pretty grim reading.
It's jarring. A real contrast to those neat self-defense demos you see sometimes.
It's deliberate, I think, to shake you out of any complacency, to show that real attacks are chaotic, messy, brutal, not like choreographed practice.
And he touches on something a bit controversial, criticizing what he calls politically correct reasons for crime, suggesting for some it's just about the buzz.
Yeah, he argues that focusing too much on social factors can sometimes downplay, the individual choices and the sheer nastiness of some offenders. It's definitely a perspective that challenges some common ideas. We're just reporting what he writes here, of course.
Right, understood. He also says it's important to understand your own personality. Are you bold, timid, impulsive, considered? How does that link to security for you?
Because how you naturally are shapes how you see threats, how you react.
Okay.
Someone more reserved might instinctively avoid situations a bolder person wouldn't think twice about. Knowing your baseline helps you see where you might need to consciously adjust your behavior for safety.
Then he kind of busts the myth that just knowing a list of common sense rules keeps you safe. He points out muggings happen even when people know the advice.
Right. His point is knowing the rules isn't the same as actually applying them with real awareness in the moment.
The mental overdrive thing again?
Yeah, exactly. We're running on autopilot, mind busy, but not truly seeing the environment for threats, even when we think we're being careful.
He mentions an experiment showing people remember others mainly by location, not detail. That's kind of unnerving.
It really shows how selective our attention is, doesn't it? We notice just enough to get by, but maybe not enough to spot someone who's out of place or acting suspiciously, especially if they don't fit our stereotype of a bad guy.
So the key takeaway for you, the listener, is to actively register people, cars, your surroundings. Consciously notice details, so when something is off...
It triggers an alarm bell. Exactly. Awareness isn't passive. It's an active observation, a mental logging of information.
Okay, this leads into his threat pyramid concept. Threat avoidance, threat evaluation, and threat awareness at the base.
It's a simple model, but useful. Shows how evaluating and avoiding threats really depends on that solid foundation of awareness. You can't avoid what you don't see coming.
Right, and he talks about color codes to make awareness more practical. He mentions Jeff Cooper's system, but offers his own mental traffic light, white, orange, red. How does that work for us?
Consterdine felt Cooper's symbolic colors weren't maybe as intuitive for everyone. So his traffic light is more direct.
Okay.
Condition white. That's your normal unaware state. No specific threats perceived.
Default mode.
Then, as you notice things that maybe need attention, someone acting weird, a car slowing down, your mental traffic light flicks on, turns orange.
Okay, orange is alert.
Yeah, heightened alertness.
Yeah.
This is where you think, you evaluate. What's going on? Is it a threat? What are my options?
And red.
Red is the trigger. The light turns red when there's a clear, immediate danger. Now you act. And the action should be reactive, immediate, based on the thinking you did in orange. No time for figuring it out now.
So orange is thinking time, red is go time. That makes sense, a useful mental framework.
It really is.
Yeah.
Do the hard thinking in orange, so if it hits red, your response is already primed. Less hesitation when seconds count.
He then goes into different attentional styles, like are you naturally broad external focus or more narrow internal, and how knowing your style helps awareness.
Yeah, our natural way of focusing really affects what we pick up on. Someone with a broad external style tends to take in more of the environment automatically.
Right.
Someone more internally focused might need to make a more conscious effort to scan around, especially in unfamiliar places. Knowing your tendency lets you compensate.
And attentional distractors.
Yeah.
He suggests listing things that personally distract you versus what's actually relevant for security. What's the point of that exercise?
It makes you consciously aware of what typically pulls your focus away from safety cues.
Oh, okay.
Could be your phone, could be worrying about work, could be anything. By identifying your specific distractors, you can then actively try to minimize them when awareness really counts.
He really pushes commentary driving as a technique to sharpen awareness, not just for driving, right? How can we use that?
Yeah, commentary driving is basically talking out loud about what you see around you. People, cars, hazards, everything.
Sounds a bit odd doing it walking down the street.
Well, yeah, you probably wouldn't do it out loud. But the principle applies anywhere. The act of verbalizing, even just mentally, forces you to pay closer attention, filters out random thoughts.
Ah, I see.
You practice it driving, but the habit of actively observing and mentally noting details carries over, improves your general situational awareness significantly.
He uses this really stark example, a police constable who is suspicious but still got knifed, to hammer home the importance of expectation, mentally prepping for the possibility of attack.
Yeah, that's a tough one. The officer's general awareness was there, but his mind hadn't fully accepted, this could happen to me right now.
The denial phase.
Exactly. You need to consciously accept that, yeah, anything can happen, to be truly ready to react properly.
So the core advice for you listening is be situationally aware, watch people, maybe use a color code system to ramp up alertness and expectation when needed, and keep a sort of healthy suspicion, not paranoia, but watchfulness.
Yeah, it's shifting from just assuming you're safe to proactively managing your safety. Vigilance.
Okay, the book then moves into crime perceptions versus the statistical reality. Seems our fears don't always match the actual numbers.
That's a really key point. Statistics give a big picture, but personal experience, media coverage, that stuff heavily shapes how we perceive risk. And sometimes that fear level is way out of whack with the actual odds for our specific situation.
He points out in the UK, young men under 30 are most likely to be assaulted, often involving alcohol.
Right.
Whereas women face higher risks of rape and domestic violence, usually from someone they know. Those are big differences.
They really are. Shows that risk isn't uniform,
Mm-hmm.
age, gender, lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
They all play a part in the kinds of dangers you might face.
He also mentions data, which sounds a bit controversial,
Yep.
suggesting fighting back with exceptions like a knife to the eye obviously might lead to escape more often than just complying, though he does say injuries can happen either way.
Yeah, it's complex and sensitive. He presents it as something to consider, stressing every situation's unique. No single right answer. But the data he cites suggests pure passivity isn't always the safest bet. Again, just reporting his findings here.
Understood. He also challenges assumptions like most attacks on women are by strangers or bad things only happen at night. He has stats that counter that.
Yeah, the stats on when assaults happen, for instance, are quite eye-opening, really busts those myths, highlights why you need to be alert anytime, anywhere, not just after dark.
And he talks about the real negative impact the fear of crime can have, especially on women. Limiting activities, feeling vulnerable, even if never actually victimized.
It really shows the psychological weight, doesn't it? The fear itself can significantly impact quality of life, regardless of actual crime experience.
He even includes stats on police officers being assaulted, shows even trained people become victims, often in routine situations like dealing with disorder or traffic stops. Gives some grim examples of serious injuries.
It's a powerful reminder that violence can erupt unexpectedly, and even those trained for it aren't immune.
He mentions Operation Bumblebee and knife crime, criminal injuries, compensation stats, just adding more layers to the reality of crime.
Yeah, weaving in different data points, real examples, it gives a much more nuanced picture than just generalizations.
Uses a shopping complex example, too, how media reports can inflate the perceived crime level compared to the actual stats for that place. Fear gets amplified.
The media definitely shapes our risk perception, sometimes way beyond the statistical reality for a specific spot.
He recounts some really disturbing specific cases, too. A taxi driver rapist, a brutal robbery murder, emphasizing the unpredictable, sometimes random nature of serious violence.
Yeah, those cases are thankfully rare, but they're stark reminders that there's an element of randomness. Relying only on statistics doesn't tell the whole story about individual risk.
So the message seems to be, stats give context, but you can't use them to say, it won't happen to me. We all face some unknowns, fate, luck.
Exactly. Taking precautions is about managing those unknowns as best you can.
Okay, moving into practical street security. He emphasizes consciously switching on awareness and even projecting alertness through body language. Standing tall, looking confident.
Yeah, looking alert and self-assured can actually be a deterrent. Right. Opportunistic criminals often look for the easiest, most vulnerable-looking target. Your posture, eye contact, it sends a signal. Not an easy mark.
Because most street crime is opportunistic, right? They select targets based on perceived wealth or vulnerability, so looking aware reduces your chance of being picked.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Criminals do a quick risk-reward check, even subconsciously. An aware person looks like more risk, more effort, less appealing target.
He warns about cars pulling up, asking for directions. Keep your distance, don't get drawn in close. That's a good practical tip.
Yeah, unfortunately, it can be a ploy to get you close and vulnerable. Keeping distance lets you assess without putting yourself immediately at risk.
And if a car stops and you feel threatened, scream. Set off your car alarm if you have one. Make noise, attract attention.
Absolutely. Disrupt their plan, draw eyes to the situation. Powerful deterrence.
Mentions that crime taxing, throwing bricks at car windows for handbags, shows the level of aggression out there.
It's a stark example, isn't it? The lengths some will go to, even for relatively small gains.
He breaks down a typical street robbery progression: observation selection, then a test for opportunity, checking for witnesses, your attention level, how you react if they get close. Understanding that sequence helps you spot danger earlier.
If you recognize those stages, maybe you can react earlier. Move away, create a distraction before it becomes a full-on confrontation.
General reaction guidelines. Don't go elsewhere with them. Notice danger signs early. If you have to fight, the goal is escape. Timing, technique, determination.
The ultimate goal in a robbery is get away safe. Any defense has to be about creating that chance to break free.
Specific warning: don't walk with your back to traffic near the curb. Simple, but could save your life.
Totally eliminates your ability to see a threat coming from behind, especially a car.
ATMs, stay aware, don't let people crowd you, especially where they can see your PN. Basic stuff, but easy to forget when you're rushing.
ATMs are often vulnerable spots. Focused task, maybe cash involved. Awareness of your space and who's around is critical.
Okay, shifting slightly to the psychology of conflict. He lists physical signs someone might be about to get aggressive: flushed face, weird eye movements darting, or hard stare blinking faster, voice changes.
These are often involuntary stress responses or signs of aggression building up. They can be subtle, but learning to spot them gives you an early warning.
Also, sudden challenges, like someone stepping right into your personal space, breaking that 1 yard rule, he calls it, and obvious verbal cues like threats or sudden mood swings.
Those are more direct signals, right? Aggression's clearly escalating, needs immediate, careful attention.
The core advice: be sooner rather than later spotting danger. And be wary of someone who seems calm but has that intense, fixed stare.
Yeah, sometimes someone trying to control their anger or planning something might look outwardly calm but have that unnerving intensity. That can be more worrying than someone just shouting.
The do's and don'ts for street security are really practical. Don't flash jewelry, carry bags securely, careful between parked cars, avoid empty bus stops at night, maybe sit downstairs on an empty bus, stand near exits on transport, wary of people approaching.
Yeah, just common sense things that, taken together, reduce your vulnerability in lots of everyday situations.
He mentions taxi drivers often carrying something for defense, sadly. Recounts a brutal attack on a driver and a tragic case of a woman killed getting into a car she thought was a taxi. Highlights risks for both drivers and passengers.
Sobering reminders, aren't they? Risks in seemingly routine interactions.
Jogging tips for those listening: no headphones blocking sound, avoid deserted spots, face traffic, vary routes and times, stick to lit paths. All about awareness and being less predictable.
Yeah, makes you harder to target, easier to spot threats coming, significantly cuts vulnerability while jogging.
Also, don't count money in public. And specific advice on assessing groups of guys, making decisions early, avoiding attention, recognizing potential group threats.
Proactive steps. Don't make yourself a target. Assess group dynamics that might pose a risk.
Comprehensive ATM advice, too. Hyper-aware of surroundings, check for suspicious people or objects, use the mirrors, shield your PI, and always try to avoid quiet night ATMs, caution at drive-thrus, don't handle cash right there on the street after withdrawing.
It's all about minimizing vulnerability when you're focused on that task and potentially have cash out.
Even advice on dogs: don't run, stand still, stay calm, avoid staring. Good to know if you're nervous around dogs.
Basic dog behavior understanding can stop a harmless encounter escalating.
And finally, on street security, tips on appearing non-threatening yourself. Don't walk right behind lone women at night. Don't sit too close on transport. Be mindful approaching women at lonely bus stops. It's about being considerate of others' sense of safety.
Yeah, it's about being a responsible community member, understanding how your actions might unintentionally make someone else feel unsafe.
Right. Let's switch to home security. Consterdine says it's two things: physical measures and procedures. Let's start with procedures, like answering the door.
He advises judging based on time and circumstances, not just appearance. Resecure the door immediately. Use a chain or preventer. Use the outside light at night. Keep inside lights off.
So they can't see in easily.
Exactly. Be suspicious of late-night calls for help or phone use requests. Don't let little kids open the door. Be cautious even with ID shown. Note their manner, clothes. It's all about layers and not rushing to let strangers in.
Phone answering, just hello, don't let kids answer. Simple. Protects privacy, avoids giving info away.
Yeah, you control what you share.
Keys. Never a gift to workmen unless totally necessary and trusted. Don't have tons of spares floating about. Know where your keys are. And a simple one. Close curtains or blinds at night.
Basic practices. Control access, maintain privacy.
He warns about suspicious callers, bogus officials, salespeople, especially if they have kids with them. And tips for when you're on holiday. Make the house look occupied, ask a neighbor to watch, maybe tell the police, mark property, photograph valuables.
Yeah, all deterrents. Make your home look less empty, less easy.
He briefly defines theft, burglary, robbery, then discusses security lighting principles, detection, eliminating shadows for hiding, acting as a deterrent.
Good lighting makes it much harder for burglars to operate unseen around your property.
Very specific positioning advice. Sidewalls, near doors, rear, garages, sheds, paths. Avoid creating tunnels of darkness between lights. Direct light outwards. Use timers. Really detailed.
It's about creating a fully lit perimeter, no hiding spots. Makes intruders highly visible.
The book stresses burglars dislike locked, double-glazed windows and visible alarms. Easy targets are preferred.
Clear signals. This house isn't easy. High risk of getting caught.
Also secure external areas. Boundaries, landscaping, no hiding bushes near windows, outdoor lighting, securing sheds, locking away tools that could be used to break in, a whole property view.
Yeah, a full approach. Address all potential weak points around the property.
He includes a risk assessment form you can use to think about your neighborhood, your house type. That's really practical.
Encourages a personal, thought-through assessment of your specific security needs.
Briefly mentions alarms should meet standards, BS 4737. And wisely suggests calling your local police crime prevention officer for help. Great resource many might not know about.
Local police often have great expertise, tailored advice for your area. Worth asking.
He acknowledges domestic violence is serious but complex, beyond this section's scope. Urges contacting police immediately. Crucial advice.
Absolutely. Domestic violence needs specialized help and intervention.
Finally, on home security, examples of high-value robberies targeting wealthy people, sometimes using info from society mags. Reminds everyone, don't leave valuables visible inside the home. Even the wealthy need basic security sense.
Highlights that nobody's immune. Displaying wealth can make you more vulnerable.
Okay, let's talk mobile security, starting with cars. Consterdine says that feeling of safety inside a car, often false.
Yeah, car offers protection, sure, but it can also be a trap if you're not aware.
Focuses on leaving and returning to your vehicle. Advice: park well-lit, busy places. Keys ready in hand approaching the car. Look around before getting close.
Minimize vulnerable time outside the locked car. Maintain awareness of who's around. Key practices.
Be aware of people or cars lingering near yours. If anything feels off, abandon the car, get help. Don't go back alone. Trust your gut.
Absolutely. Gut feelings are important. Your safety over the car, always.
Paints a scenario. You see vandals at your car. Assess from a distance. Don't walk right into it. Gives you time to think, react safely.
Avoid being surprised. Give yourself space and time to evaluate. Act strategically, not just instinctively.
Getting in the car. Backside first, he says. Keep eyes up. And be aware, attackers sometimes hide in the back footwell.
Backside first lets you scan around before you're fully committed inside. Knowing potential hiding spots is crucial too.
Lock doors immediately once inside. Explains why entering leg first is bad, briefly blocks your all-around vision. Small details matter.
Maintaining awareness through the whole entry process is key.
Keep visual contact while getting in. Secure bags, briefcases, phones out of sight. Prevent opportunistic theft.
Hide valuables. Reduce temptation for a quick smash and grab.
And keep windows closed, especially when stopped or in slow traffic. Prevents easy reach-ins. Simple, effective.
Yeah, fundamental safety. Stops a sudden opportunistic grab.
Briefly on mobile security at the office, payroll runs are high risk. Vary times, routes if unavoidable, but strongly advises against staff wage runs with large cash amounts. Risk is too high.
Minimize cash handling. Vary routines if you absolutely must transport cash. Crucial security steps.
Back to commentary driving, applying it directly to driving itself. Verbalizing observations 360 degrees logically, including inside your own car.
Reinforces that active observation. Verbalizing. Sharpens awareness everywhere. Driving included.
Gives examples. Advises adjusting approach to lights, cues, to avoid getting boxed in. Always look for escape routes. Defensive driving plus security awareness.
Anticipate hazards. Always maintain options to maneuver, escape if needed.
Personal threat analysis. Be less predictable. Avoid patterns. Makes you harder to target.
Varying routines makes planning an attack against you much harder.
Detecting someone watching you is key. Even opportunists select targets. Awareness is your first, best defense.
Early detection buys you time. Time to assess, maybe avoid confrontation altogether.
Office security procedures focuses on the individual employee's safety, mostly. Areas like parking, visitors, isolated spots, door access to toilets, personal items, reporting suspicious stuff.
These are all areas where employees can be proactive about their own safety and contribute to overall workplace security.
Key advice: stay aware even in familiar, seemingly safe places. Notice people, layout. Don't shut out stimuli that creates blind spots. And project alertness, that switched-on body language.
Maintain mindful presence, even in routine spots. Complacency is dangerous.
Then security at work, focusing on potential workplace violence. Employers have a responsibility for risk assessment, including violence.
Employers have legal, ethical duties. Provide a safe environment. Assess and mitigate violence risk.
Summarizes types of incidents, disgruntled people, domestic spillover, criminals entering internal issues. Gives that chilling U.S. post office shooting example. Stark reminder.
That tragedy really underscores the potential severity, highlights the need for prevention, preparedness.
Outlines employer duties, risk assessment, safe environment, emergency procedures, training. Also points out warning signs of potentially violent employees, behavioral red flags not to ignore.
Recognizing those signs allows for early intervention, support, potentially preventing violence.
Okay, vital area. Conflict resolution. Consterdine says violence rarely just erupts, it escalates. Early intervention is key.
Addressing aggression early gives the best shot at de-escalating before it turns physical.
He gives great do's and don'ts for confrontations. Stay mentally sharp. Try to figure out why they're angry. Prioritize safety. Leave if needed. Make an excuse. Stay calm yourself. Speak gently, slowly, clearly. Don't argue. Don't pull rank or use jargon. Get their name. Try to reason. Crucially, never touch an angry person, all about diffusing.
These are all focused on taking the heat out, avoiding actions that could provoke them further.
Explains an aggressor's choices. Attack, retreat, compromise. Your goal is guiding them to retreat or compromise. Maybe move to an open area, address the issue if possible.
Aim is de-escalate the immediate tension. Find a peaceful, safe outcome.
If violence seems imminent, keep distance. Don't turn your back. Let them move first, but try to guide direction. Never stay alone with someone actively violent. Be ready to move fast. Re-engage cautiously after calm returns. Careful with further requests. Safety first, always.
When de-escalation fails, protecting yourself from harm has to be the absolute priority.
Defines violent behavior, lists early warning signs, stresses being aware of your own anger levels, how you might be contributing.
Self-awareness is vital in conflict. Know your own emotional state, how it's affecting things.
If de-escalation fails, stay safe. Watch verbal and nonverbal cues. Warns workplace physical defense is not like class practice. Avoid if possible. Sense real danger. Walk away. Defend only as last resort. Meeting aggression with aggression. Escalates it. Goal: get away safely. Someone intent on violence won't likely be deterred by your aggression. Might feed off it. Reiteration: aware, alert, avoid trouble.
Emphasis is always de-escalation, avoidance. Physical defense is the final option, only for safety.
Lists key skills for dealing with aggression: communication, body language, reading and using, knowing difficult behaviors, assertiveness, confidence, stress management. Don't ignore bad behavior, but don't rush into danger either. Doing nothing usually isn't an option.
Proactive communication, understanding behavior. Essential tools for managing aggressive encounters.
Briefly mentions transactional analysis, NLP, as useful communication systems to study. Explains the stress response, how it hits judgment. Understanding that helps de-escalation.
Understanding the psychology of conflict definitely improves your ability to handle it better.
Still in conflict resolution, he stresses knowing when things are getting bad enough to call for help. Summoning help isn't weakness, it's smart. Safety in numbers. Plus, if you're involved, maybe angry, judgment can be clouded. Involving a supervisor shows it's serious.
Knowing when to get outside help shows good judgment. Prioritizes everyone's safety.
Uses door staff managing rowdy people as an example. Handling it wrong can make passive people aggressive. Some people just want trouble. Appearing too aggressive yourself makes others wary, less predictable. Sometimes keeping a drunk clumsy is better. Fascinating insight.
That real-world example shows the complexity, right? Managing aggression on the front line, dealing with all sorts.
Finally, on conflict, he tackles fear, often misunderstood. Crucial difference between emotional fear and physiological adrenaline response. Understanding that is key to acting correctly at the right time.
Recognizing the difference between the feeling and the body's chemical reaction is vital for performing under pressure.
He calls preemption the real hub of self-defense. Critical of purely passive approaches. Explains the freeze response, often due to surprise, lack of a plan. Awareness and mental prep are the antidote.
Proactive mindset, mental rehearsal.
Hmm.
Crucial for overcoming that freeze and taking action.
Delves into stress combat symptoms. Visual stuff like tachypsychia, time distortion, auditory exclusion, not hearing things, slower reactions, losing fine motor skills, memory loss, cognitive overload leading to fixation, missing info, guard against losing your resolve for action, negativity, he calls it. Powerful statement. No such thing as self-defense. It should only ever be self-attack, meaning be ready to initiate resolution.
Understanding those stress responses helps you anticipate them, train to mitigate them.
Lists reasons for inaction under stress. Fear itself, chemical responses, worrying about consequences denial, inability to decide quickly, lack of confidence commitment. Overcoming inaction is the immediate challenge, and ability to cope varies hugely person to person.
Addressing those factors through training, mental prep, crucial for developing the ability to act when it counts.
Okay, important topic. Self-defense and the law, England and Wales context. Law comes from common law, court decisions, customs, and statute law, acts of parliament. Key concept, reasonable force. Courts consider the defendant's honest perception of events. Quotes Lord Morris. Someone under attack can't precisely measure their defense.
The law gets that it's hard to make fine calculations when you're under sudden attack.
Mentions a proposed test, force reasonable, in the circumstances he believed them to be. It gives case examples showing how courts interpret this.
These cases show how nuanced the law is, how it's applied in specific self-defense situations.
Brings up the controversial Elliott case, burglar killed homeowner, acquitted on self-defense, caused outcry, review pending. Notes defense sometimes argues preemption is justified, clearly a tricky, debated legal area.
That case really highlights the ongoing debate, the different interpretations of self-defense boundaries.
Briefly notes concerns about rape, prosecution rates, police criticisms, mentions a 1995 Home Secretary review of self-defense policy, shows it's an area lawmakers keep looking at.
Just highlighting the broader legal, social context around violence and self-defense rights.
Recounts a police shooting case. Officer genuinely believed colleagues were in danger, shot someone turned out to be a mistake. Judge found officer acted instinctively based on honest belief of imminent danger. Emphasizes the person defending makes the judgment in the moment about reasonable and necessary. Key takeaway. Honestly held belief of imminent danger justifies reasonable force.
That case reinforces how critical the individual's honest belief about the threat level is in the legal assessment of their actions.
Discusses Moss v. McLaughlin case, breach of the peace. Preventative action needs imminent risk in place and time. Advises, if protecting property, frame it as preventing breach of peace or reasonable self-defense. Mentions police guidelines, minimum necessary force. Police use a confrontational continuum to match force to threat level.
These legal principles give important guidance on when and how force can legally be used.
Crucially, law allows using weapons of opportunity. Advises. Don't be held back by feeling ungentlemanly or hesitating on certain techniques, like groin strikes, if your life is genuinely threatened. Survival trumps etiquette.
When facing a serious, potentially lethal attack, survival is the priority. Conventional social rules become secondary.
Okay, moving into myths of martial arts. Consterdine starts by saying physical self-defense relies on that foundation of awareness and mental readiness. Without that, skills are useless.
Physical techniques, however good, only work if you're actually aware of the threat and mentally ready to use them under pressure.
He's critical of the tactic for every action approach in many martial arts-based self-defense books. Argues 99% of those techniques are unusable under real stress. Advice. Focus on surviving relatively unscathed, not winning a street fight like a match.
In a real fight for your safety, simplicity and effectiveness beat a huge library of complex, often impractical moves. Goal is survival, not points.
Emphasizes disrupting the attacker's plan. Do the unexpected. Feign compliance, then preemptive strike if possible. Use your voice, acoustic warfare, scream for help. Acknowledges women might face psychological hurdles with physical confrontation due to conditioning, but stresses it's not impossible. Warns, never show an attacker a weapon you have. Stresses. In a street assault, don't expect help. Fight to break free, not just resist. Notes, verbal assertion or evasion might work in lower-level workroom situations. Cautions, anything you carry to injure could be used against you.
These are practical, often overlooked tactics. Disrupting expectations, creating escape opportunities. Key elements.
Critical need to manage stress effects. Critical of adopting a formal good stance like in-class real self-defense is dynamic, unpredictable. Debunks myth that a good one-punch blow leaves you overextended. Argues it's what's behind techniques frame, factors, range, assessment, method, execution that matters, not just the moves.
Managing stress, applying fundamental principles effectively,
Mm.
way more important in real self-defense than just mimicking techniques from class.
Lists crucial situational factors often ignored in training. Escape routes, enemy territory, potential help, your purpose, witnesses, your physical state, opponents' build clothing, number of attackers, your actual skills, safe havens nearby. Emphasizes purpose counters denial. Range includes distance, closing angle, speed awareness buys time. Assessment is threat level, options, environment, don't overreact to everyone suspicious. Method is deciding how to act. Verbal, nonverbal, physical. Remember, muggers rarely come alone. Execution depends on commitment and aggression.
A full understanding of the situation, plus a decisive, committed response, essential for effective self-defense.
Warns against magic vest syndrome, false security from techniques without addressing fear apprehension. Stresses realistic training must primarily make you combative. Introduces his power strike system, using double hit power generation, more impact, less overextension, aiming for one blow capability. Reiterates self-defense involves broader management skills beyond physical moves, praises women's self-defense programs focusing on tapping into aggression. Notes going to ground can be a tactic in extremis on some courses. Points out violence against women often by known individuals, affecting willingness to fight back injure.
Realistic training needs both physical skills and psychological readiness to act under stress. It's about fostering a combative mindset when needed.
Emphasizes need for simple, powerful, reactive techniques using gross motor skills. Fine motor skills fail under stress. Too many options in action. Describes realistic training. Screaming aggressors, simulating stress. Acknowledges martial artists have good physical attributes but might reflexively use the wrong technique. Argues many instructors are sports coaches. Limited real-world self-defense experience. Highlights schools provide controlled environments, rules, safety net, unlike the street. Points out tribal nature of martial arts, instructors sometimes resistant to outside views.
The training environment and mindset in many traditional arts often don't prepare people for the chaos and lethality of a real street attack.
Explains his approach. Extract core impact elements based on double hip, structure them for different ranges. Describes cultural ball and chain of some Eastern systems evolved over centuries, often stylized for show, not pure effectiveness. Sparring in those systems, not always relevant to street encounters, distinguishes fighting, rules, stances, sparring from self-defense, survival preemption. Being in a fighting stance on the street means things have already gone wrong. Mentions non-competitive systems like JKD, but notes even philosophies can become rigid. Highlights differences between police military self-defense training and traditional martial arts.
Crucial to differentiate sport, formalized fighting, and raw self-defense. Training needs to match the goal.
Discusses Krav Maga. Acknowledges focus on aggressive defense under stress, but has reservations about lack of preemption emphasis, adaptability to regional threats. Draws analogy to revolver versus pistol debate. Slow adoption of practical pistol training due to mirrors traditional versus practical arts debate. Notes confused approach to military self-defense, sometimes influenced by politics legalities over pure effectiveness. Criticizes training giving false security and unrealistic techniques.
A critical, objective look at different systems in training is essential. Ensure they're truly effective and practical for high-stakes reality.
Right. On to the really serious stuff. Myths of martial arts. Knife defense realities. Consterdine is blunt, thinking you can easily disarm fast knife slashes with traditional blocks. Complete bollocks, he says. Introduces W.E. Fairbairn and Defendu, developed for Shanghai police against brutal street violence, Green Gang.
Traditional knife defenses, often dangerously inadequate, create false security. Fairbairn's Defendu was born from necessity dealing with extreme, real violence.
Explains Defendu focused on simplicity, instinctive reactions under stress, battle-tested by Fairbairn. Mentions his silent killing course, quotes Peter Robbins. Effective combat shifts from defense to attack, stresses. Knife robbery, initial tactic is compliance. But be ready mentally, you might still get cut if knife touches you. Immediate action needed, no transition time. Gives chilling example. Woman goes berserk, starts stabbing people in job center, highlights sudden unpredictable violence, points out UK police are on the front line of knife attacks, notes screwdrivers are common murder weapons, even short blades kill.
Facing a knife. Immediate, decisive action, often the only chance. Comply initially in robbery, but be ready to switch to aggressive defense instantly if it escalates or you're attacked anyway.
Quotes typical police advice. Retreat from weapon, but counters. Instinctive reaction is often hands up defensively, not stepping back. Critical of the 21-foot rule for knives unrealistic. 10, 12 feet more likely minimum reaction distance. Stresses knife wielder's mindset is close quarters. Suspicion of weapon. Warrants immediate hard action. Debunks myth of easily sidestepping a straight knife attack when retreating. Most people instinctively raise hands. Believing you have time to react block once someone reaches for a weapon. Often fatal mistake. Preemption is key. Knife out. Escape priority. Impossible. Attack is only defense.
Creating distance is ideal, yes, but preemption and aggressive immediate defense are often the only realistic survival options against the knife. Relying on reaction alone is extremely risky.
Outlines U.S. accepted knife defense principles. Grim reality is you'll likely get cut. Goal. Present least vital parts, backs of arms, as guard. Aim to deflect blade. Create opening to attack weapon hand if you grip attacker's sleeve. Force knife hand away from both bodies, prevents wrist manipulation switching hands. First strike, maximum force, elbow suggested. Follow with rapid strikes. Train against guarded assailant, head down, shoulders up. If blade just pushed closest threat, slapping it away might work. Action beats reaction, hit inside wrist. Crucial point, knife held closest threat must be attacked immediately. Compliance no guarantee, fast hard strike needed.
Effective knife defense. Protect vitals, create brief window, immediate forceful attack on weapon hand to disable.
Ranges and tools. Point is, even a pen can be a weapon with mental focus if attacked. Clipboards for some professions. Principle, everyday objects usable for defense with the right mindset.
Mental agility to see and use everyday objects as improvised weapons. Critical advantage in a sudden attack.
Impact development. Power strike. Credits influences John Kerry, Street Combatives, and Peter Robbins, Defendu expert. Explains his power strike system based on double hit power generation, use whole body for max impact. Contrast with traditional arts may be lacking real impact. Stresses delivering power from social stance, normal standing, not needing fighting stance as attacks start socially.
Generating max striking power from a natural, non-threatening stance is key. The double hip is a core mechanic for that.
Weapons of the body, effective strikes. Explains tunnel vision. Stress response, narrows focus, lose peripheral awareness, emphasizes preempting overt aggression, especially if someone known to carry makes a move, uses hypothetical police decision scenario, illustrates danger of overthinking when time is critical. Lack of commitment in violence is dangerous, most attacked before completing threat assessment. Reiterates preemption is key. Waiting to block counter often means getting hit unseen, escalates to dangerous brawl. Explains physical fear sensations, shaking dry mouth, are mostly unused adrenaline. Advises, don't let situation develop too long before acting, stress effects worsen. Aggression can be trained state of mind that wins fights. Summarizes. Realistic training, fitness, combative defense, crucial for effective decision and engagement cycle. Uninterrupted, concurrent, consistent, constant. Lists physical signs of adrenaline dump.
Understanding stress responses, cultivating proactive, decisive, committed mindset. Fundamental to effective self-defense. Be ready to act quickly, decisively.
Weapons of the body, specific strikes. Discusses body language conveying non-victim status. Explains interview stance. Non-confrontational, hands slightly up, open, natural barrier, conditioning, prep for trapping striking. Stresses, if attacked suddenly, use current stance, don't telegraph by shifting to fighting stance. Voice, firm but low initially, never plead unless deliberate deception. Facing multiple attackers, neutralize first one instantly with one shot before others react. Use aggressive voice, back off, eye contact for mental dominance. Explains putting body weight inside opponent using double hip, door hinge, often disguised by gestures or feigning turning. Emphasizes, if hand comes close to point grasp, slap away and strike simultaneously. Once they move, no going back, close and disable instantly. Notes minor hand positions convey threat passivity, open palms can show non-aggression, clarifies preemption, not block then strike, but simultaneous action like Wing Chun Ching Amin, misjudge, practice cover and blitz.
Confident, assertive body language, ready but non-aggressive stance, preemptive, decisive action when threatened. Key principles for navigating initial confrontation stages.
Weapons of the body, palm strikes and backslap. Mentions Li Yingarng's palm in 100 days. Kuyu Cheung's iron palm demos influencing understanding of palm power. Explains his approach. Heavy hand visualization, double hip power, favors palm slaps for trapping threatening hands. All slaps use double hip. Impact from relaxation at contact. Describes backslap. Deceptively powerful, good for blindside, no direct visual target needed. Relaxation, correct dynamics, double hip key. Back of hand drops with hip force, often buckles legs. Maintain focus on others, follow up, head shoulder hit.
Palm strikes, backslaps. Executed with proper mechanics, Whole body power. Surprisingly effective, versatile, especially close in.
Weapons of the body: elbows, head, shoulder, legs. Elbows need close range. Use deception to close gap. Often train too far away. Impact often blasts target back. Importance of Zanshin: awareness after technique. Be halfway through next action even if first worked. Describes head-shoulder combo, face slap, body punch. Both rely on massive impact generation. Explains using top of head, hairline back, not very top, for head strikes. Tuck, head to chest on impact, connect with chin. Can deliver from distance using door hinge. Leg strikes, knees, feet. Powerful due to large muscles. Strong back leg kick, often good second strike. Describes lead leg attack from upright stance. Drop weight to reach leg. Use open palms to distract visually. Short, sharp strike, throat grip can be very effective combo.
Elbows, powerful close-in, head-shoulder combo, disorienting. Leg strikes use big muscles for impact. Proper technique, range awareness, crucial for all.
Weapons of the body: strangles and throat strikes. Strangles restrict blood flow from brain rapid unconsciousness. Cautions: not first option. Need specific tuition, practice, dangerous if done wrong. Neck locks prohibited for UK police. Suggest strangle should present itself from other actions, not initial attack. Throat strikes: fingertips or thumb second knuckle. Very close range usually. Straight fingers too inflexible. Impact often slightly off center. Describes reverse throw from neck hold. Use body weight to crash into object. Puts opponent at risk unless they release. Needs much practice. Good neck holders won't allow space for impact of defense. Concludes: strangle, throat strikes, high risk reward. Needs specific training.
Strangles, throat strikes. Highly effective, but carry significant risks. Need specialized training. Generally options that might arise, not primary attacks.
Final section: putting it all together. Combinations and multiple attackers. Advises against overthinking complex combos in real fight. Focus: one solid initial technique, clear action trigger. Second strike flows from opponent's reaction to first. E.g., leg kick head down, face punch may be less effective. Head shoulder shot creates distance, maybe heavy leg kick next. Emphasizes street objective. Hit and run, get away safe, not look good. Run can be second part of combination. Notes many effective sequences end with heavy leg strike. Crucial advice: never initiate strike while already retreating. Facing multiple close attackers. Never more than one strike on first before moving to next. Too many strikes on one gives others time. Strategy: hit, move, hit, move, hit. React instantly, instinctively to danger signals like stone at windshield. Don't overthink. Goal is opponent still processing your first move while you take next. Strongly advises against complex martial arts techniques. Wrong rabbit from wrong hat. Keep it simple. Attack decisively when danger recognized. Hit and run. Recommends repetitive training. Simple, powerful strikes, punches, low round kicks, knees. Include conversation, verbal action trigger in impact practice. Accept fear is natural. Train physically and mentally to overcome paralysis.
Real confrontation, especially multiple attackers. Simplicity, speed, decisive action are paramount. Create escape opportunity while neutralizing immediate threats.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Consterdine's Streetwise, some core ideas really stand out, don't they?
Definitely.
That absolute need for constant awareness, the realistic, balanced approach to risk, understanding conflict psychology and fear responses, and prioritizing simple, effective actions over complex techniques that just fall apart under pressure.
Absolutely. And that proactive mindset, he pushes self-attack as the ultimate self-defense, taking initiative when facing danger. That preemption idea, potentially life-saving.
Yeah. When the situation demands it, being proactive, not reactive, seems crucial. This has been, well, foundational, really. Lots of paths for listeners to explore further, right? More awareness training, understanding the legal side better, getting practical instruction in those simple, high-impact techniques.
Yeah, this deep dive gives a really solid, practical framework for thinking about personal security in a much more informed way, I think.
So, here's a final thought for you listening. Based on what we've talked about today, how do you currently handle your personal safety day to day? Are there maybe, I don't know, one or two small, doable changes you could make to boost your awareness, feel a bit more secure going forward?
It's really about taking these ideas and just gradually building them into habits, isn't it? Making them second nature, not just something you think about after something happens.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. If you have other topics, other sources you'd like us to tackle, do let us know. Until next time, stay aware and stay safe.